Today's episode of The Real Deal with Damian Adams is brought to you by the 3pointconversion.com. Now, 3-point conversion is where fans' opinions matter. So if you're a sports fan and you're not following the 3-point conversion on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, you're living your life incorrectly, all right? Because you're missing out on all the live updates that you'll get quickly as possible. You're also missing out on in-depth articles on football, basketball, boxing, hockey, NASCAR. Everything under the sun, the 3-point conversion has you covered. So make sure you go ahead and follow 3-point conversion on all those platforms that I mentioned. Thank you for listening to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. This is Real Sports Talk for the real sports fan. Now, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, thank you. Please do not forget to go to the ratings and reviews page and leave a 5-star rating at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That 5-star rating would definitely be appreciated. If you're listening on the 3-point conversion station on Spreaker Radio, thank you. The 3-point conversion station is where fans' opinions matter. So if you think the show is elite, you think the show is hot, say it loud. I think the show is hot and I'm proud. If you think the show can improve, don't say it as loud, but let me know. And maybe we can fit those critiques into the show because I need both your praises and your criticisms to be great at my job. And today I'm very, very happy to have a repeat guest on the show. He is someone who I consider a brother in this game of sports radio, sports media. He's been on the show several times. We definitely got to get him and Kelly back on for a bonus episode where we can curse and whatnot. And I'm going to curse on this episode too. For you guys that know, I'm a Saints fan, so curse words are going to be said when talking about that game, just to give you a free warning now. But this brother who I have coming on the show, he's been in the radio game for a minute now. I can't wait for his return to radio when that happens. Someone who knows his sports, Philadelphia through and through, 4x4 guy. My man Rashan Reeves, what's going on?
Damian, thanks again for welcoming me back, man. How you doing, brother?
Doing great, man. Great to have you on the show.
Thanks a lot, man. Great to be back.
Now, one of the things that we have in common that we are both big boxing fans. And this past weekend, there was a big bout. Some people may disagree with that. They may say it just was a bout of popular names. But either way, it was something that generated interest. When Manny Pacquiao took on Adrien Broner over this past weekend in Vegas. And Manny Pacquiao won a pretty easy decision, right? Personally, I scored the fight 10 rounds to 2 for Pacquiao. The judges, I think, mostly had it like 8-4, which I found hard to give Broner 4 rounds. And the thing that made this fight interesting was the build-up. You know, Broner talked a lot of trash going into it. You know, he was going to beat Pacquiao up on guiding them. And he didn't even know who them is. He was doing it for the hood. He was just so confident. And came fight time, we had the same story with Adrien Broner. Little flashes here and there. 4th round, we get some counters. You're like, okay, maybe he's starting to turn it around. You know, you have the 6th round, I believe it was the end of the 6th round, where he had this beautiful combination where he did like an uppercut and then like a left hook afterwards. It was like, oh, okay, maybe this is where he turns it around. But no, it wasn't. It was the same old Adrien Broner not letting his hands go. And then after the fight, for some reason, he thought he won. Like, for some reason, he said he outboxed Manny Pacquiao, even though he only averaged 4 punches landed per round. How, Adrien? How? So before I get into my rant, what were your thoughts on the fight?
I mean, you couldn't have said it better, man. I was thoroughly disappointed in Adrien Broner, man. Listen, you know how many times we've talked boxing, me, you, Courtney Wood. And the one thing I consistently say is that I haven't given up on Adrien Broner. It's something in him that I still, well, let's rephrase that. It was something in him I saw that made me not want to give up in him. But I give up. All the hope is gone now. All the hope is gone. The fact that he can accept responsibility for his output Saturday night, that post-game or that post-fight, interview with Jim Gray shows you that he's never going to change. You know, for him, after a performance like that, he does not throw not nearly enough punches to win a fight. And for him to say he outboxed them and everybody won, the hood, no. Listen, I'm from the hood. I'm not from the saying now, but I grew up in the hood. Nobody I know, and I damn sure didn't think he won that fight. And for him to go even lower by calling Jim Gray out, saying that he would be 7-0 against Jim Gray. But Jim Gray's a commentator. You want to fight Jim Gray now? That's the only way you'll be 7-0. Because you don't play, he does not. Listen, I don't know what it is behind the scenes. I'm not going to say that he don't put in hard work. I'm sure he does. Because stamina don't seem to be the problem. It just seems to me to be a lack of willing to trade punches. I think when he fought Maidana and Maidana tagged him and hurt him, I think after that fight he's kind of stepped back and kind of became a conservative fighter. I think he wanted to be like Floyd, but Floyd is a master boxer. Floyd knows how to pick his punches. Floyd knows how to counter punch. I think Floyd is probably one of the greatest counter punchers of all time. A lot of people don't give him credit for that. And Floyd obviously is the greatest defensive fighter, certainly of our generation, probably ever. And I think he tries to model himself after Floyd, but doesn't have Floyd's experience. I don't think he has Floyd's patience. I think he has the talent. It's just something about him that won't allow himself to get to the next level. And that's what's thoroughly disappointing, about Adrien Broner with me. He has the talent. I don't think anybody would have watched boxing would say that he didn't have talent, but it's just something else that shuts off when he's in the ring, and he sees the fight totally different from everybody else. And I don't know if he has enablers in his corner. I know when he was going on his rant, I know he had his trainer behind him. I didn't see his trainer shaking his head agreeing with him. You see what I'm saying? So maybe that's some form of opposition to him. When they got back into the locker room, I'm sure he probably talked to him. I hope he talked to him and told him, how disappointed he was. And many other fans out here rooting for him. So I was thoroughly disappointed with Adrien Broner. Pacquiao fought his fight. He fighting, the way he fought. I'm glad to see him back in America fighting. But Pacquiao knows he has no shot against the top-notch welterweight. You know what I mean? So he looked good against Adrien Broner. But I wouldn't put too much into what Pacquiao did.
Yeah, you can't put too much into it because we saw him beat someone who was afraid to let their hands go, who, like Jim Gray mentioned, is now 3-3-1 in his last 7 fights. So when you have that going against the legend of Pacquiao, going into the fight, I thought, okay, this is a chance for Broner to put his name back in that elite conversation. Because Pacquiao looked good in his last fight against Matisse. Even though he's 40 years old, you still would get credit for beating Pacquiao, if Pacquiao came in there looking halfway decent. And I'm like, Broner has to know this is his last chance. He has to know this is his last opportunity before people give up on him. Because people have been ready to give up on you, but you're like, okay, you fighting Pacquiao. We're boxing fans at the end of the day. We want to see you. And for him to come out there with that lackluster performance is just so disappointing, like you said. The man landed 3 body shots all night. 3. I think I landed more on the food I was eating. Like, 3 body shots? Like, come on, man. You got to do... And it's just like you said, he is a natural counter puncher. But at some point, if you realize maybe Pacquiao, even at 40, is too fast for me to be able to counter in this way. Maybe because he's a southpaw, I can't really do my counters like I want to. I have to be the aggressor. We've seen Broner in the past be the aggressor against, maybe lesser opponents, but we've seen that in him. But my man Wood, who you mentioned earlier, brought up a really good point on his YouTube channel, Pay Me No Mind. You guys should go check that out. On his video recapping the fight, he believes that Broner no longer wants to fight, but has people depending on him, so he has to fight. Do you buy into that?
I mean, that makes sense. He always talk about how many people he has to take care of. I just hope he has a backup plan. Last I checked, he had a couple cases that's pending. You see what I'm saying? So, boxing is his livelihood from what I know. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he got... About Billions record company. I don't know any artists from About Billions. You know any artists from About Billions, Damon?
Nah, not besides.
I don't know nothing. So I don't know, man. Like that's a great observation. Maybe that is the case, but I certainly don't think he got a start into it.
Yeah, that could be the case. I said that Adrien Broner is the Jay Cutler of boxing. Like, for years, Jay Cutler was that guy who, even, at age 30, 31, they still were saying that potential of Jay Cutler. Look at that arm. He's mobile. And we knew he couldn't win, though. No matter how much talent Jay Cutler had, we knew, like, the max he was going to do was get you to the divisional round. Like, that was the max Jay Cutler was going to do for you. And it wasn't about his talent. He had one of the biggest arms in the league. He was mobile. I even remember Jay Cutler running over a linebacker one time. Like, he was physical. He had all the tools. But something in him just didn't allow him to be an elite quarterback. That's how I see Adrien Broner. Something in him just does not allow him to be an elite boxer. He was on that path. The second youngest guy to ever have 4 division titles in 4 different weight classes. We know the stats. We know where he was. And you figured the Madonna fight would be a wake-up call. Because even in that fight, he showed heart. After he got knocked down, he came back. People forget about that part. People love to talk about how he got knocked down. But he came back and made that a good fight against Madonna. And showed a lot of heart in that fight. And showed that he has a good chin. Like, he hasn't been knocked down since. So he has a good chin. Has the hand speed. Decent power. His power at 147 probably isn't the best. But at 140, 135, he was knocking people out. So when you see somebody with that talent just wasted away, maybe his heart really isn't in it. Maybe he is more about the business. His About Billions promotion company does have fighters under it in boxing. I know for sure. So he's doing well in that aspect. As far as the music part, I know he raps. And he's been on tour before and stuff like that. Like, he's not mega successful, but I guess he's doing okay in that aspect. But I think going forward, it'll be more about the boxing side of it. Like him being a promotional guy, someone promoting other fighters maybe from Cincinnati, doing that. He says he wants to come back. I saw on Instagram he say he wants to be champion again. But I don't know if he's just saying that and it's not really what he wants to do.
I mean, probably. This is where I think, being an understudy of Floyd Mayweather and befriending Floyd, Floyd, and it's not Floyd's fault, but I hear a lot of people blame Floyd's success on some of the fighters' decisions, but a lot of people forget, everybody sees Floyd's flashy lifestyle now, but Floyd was boxing professionally since '96. The year he lost in the Olympics, he came out and he turned professional. From '96 to 2007, boxing fans knew who Floyd Mayweather was, but I guess casual boxing fans didn't know him until he fought Oscar De La Hoya. Now that's a good 11 years in the game. He by this time he done beat Diego Corrales, he beat Arturo Gatti, he beat some well-known fighters, and he still wasn't well-known until he fought Oscar De La Hoya. From then, that's when he changed, his persona from Pretty Boy Floyd to Money Mayweather. But he still had to go through that rough patch. I'm not going to say rough patch because he didn't lose. But that period in time where though he was out there grinding. He wasn't the Money Mayweather from today, the guy that sits around and wait for you to throw and, counter off your mistakes. He was out there knocking people out. He had to build up his brand. And then when he got to the top notch, that's when he expanded on it, And I think a lot of people see that and think that they can have it so fast without putting in all the work. And I think Adrien Broner fell victim to that. I think he's a perfect example of what not to do and trying to follow the guy to being Floyd Mayweather.
No, that's a very good point. Like, people forget about the work that Floyd puts in. And when he trains, there's no drinking. And right now, he probably right now at this moment, Floyd Mayweather probably is walking around at like 150 pounds. Like, ready to drop 3 pounds and go down to 147. Right now. So, that's the thing. Like, with Broner, we know he gains weight. He's been better as of late in his last few fights making weight. But he's had problems making weight in the past. His preparation isn't there. He doesn't let his hands go. He's lost to fighters who we know are less talented, like Sean Porter. Sean Porter is a very gritty fighter, but though has nowhere near the natural talent that Broner has. He's lost to him. So with Broner, man, like I said, me and you on the same page. We both have given up on Broner. For him to get back into the limelight, I stated that he needs to go on like a maybe 5-6 win streak and he's not going to be fighting notable fighters for a while. right? He's going to be the undercard. If he continues to fight, he's going to be like the undercard on other fights and trying to build his name back up. If he goes on like a 5-6 game, 6-fight winning streak, then maybe we'll see him back out there. But until then, we'll see. For Pacquiao, are you interested in seeing Manny Pacquiao versus Mayweather 2 at all?
No, absolutely not. No, I don't. I'm not. Floyd Mayweather, now I know he just fought this kid out there, it was Japan, China. You know, it was just absolute farce. I just don't want to see Floyd Mayweather back in the ring anymore. You know, I think he's done enough. You know, live your life. He got out of the game at the perfect time with all his senses. You know, really didn't take that much damage throughout his career. You know, I'm not saying that Pacquiao would inflict damage, but I just think that if Floyd Mayweather was to come back and he put on a good showing against Pacquiao, that would generate options for other fights, you know, and bigger money. You see what I'm saying? And I don't think Floyd would turn away from that. You know, you get back in the boxing and you see the opportunity to make more money, probably another fight with Canelo. I don't want to see that. Because at this point, Floyd's been out of the boxing game, you know, for real, fighting real boxers for a couple years now. He's not getting any younger. These guys are coming up, but younger, stronger. Even Canelo. I mean, he schooled Canelo, you know what I mean, 7-8 years ago. I don't think that would happen this time. You see what I'm saying? I think Floyd is, you know, he's past his prime. He needs to just, you know, float on in the sunset and just count those millions, almost billions he's got.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not interested in seeing it either. I compared it to Roy Jones versus Bernard Hopkins too. Like by the time those guys had a rematch, it was way too late, and no one was. It still ended up generating a little bit of money, but no one was really interested in seeing those guys fight at that age when they should have did it 10 years earlier. So for Pacquiao, I hear his wife say he's going to do one more fight and then leave. He has that option. He is a legend. He has earned the right to pick another B- fighter and go out on top. He's earned that. Broner right now has a reputation of a joke, and he's earned that, unfortunately. So speaking of jokes,
I totally agree.
Speaking of jokes, we're going to move on to the NFC Championship game. But before we do that, we're going to take a little music break real quick, and then we'll get into Rams versus Saints. So sit back, relax, enjoy some Cisco. We're going to take it back.
This thing right here is letting all the ladies know what guys talk about. You know, the finer things in life. Check it out. Ooh, that dress so scandalous, and you know another nigga couldn't handle it. So you're shaking that thing like who's the ish with the look in your eyes so devilish. You like to dance on the hip-hop spots, and you cruise to the cruise like an actor dots. Not just urban, she liked the pop, cause she was living la vida loca. She had dumps like a truck. Guys like what, baby move your butt. I think I'll sing it again. She had dumps like a truck. Guys like what, all night long. Let me see that thong. She like to dance till her hip hop spots. She cruise to the cruise to connect the dots. Not just urban, she liked the pop, cause she was living la vida loca. She had dumps like a truck. Guys like what, baby move your butt. I think I'll sing it again. She had dumps like a truck. Guys like what, all night long. Let me see that thong. That thong, yeah. You like the vibe, cause you was living la vida loca. She had dumps like a truck. Now it's like, what? Baby, move your butt. Nigga sing it again, cause she had dumps like a truck. Now it's like, what? Baby, move your butt. Nigga sing it again, come on.
Welcome back to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. You know you was jamming. Some of y'all judge me for playing a thong song, but you know you was jamming. All right? Don't act like you wasn't jamming just now. We were back with my man Rashan Reeves. Now it's time for us to talk about some football. This past weekend we had the championship games, a chance to go to the Super Bowl on the line. In the first matchup, we had the Rams take on the Saints. The Rams defeated the Saints 26-23. Jared Goff went 25 for 40, 297 yards, 1 TD, 1 pick. Hecker, the punter, went 1 for 1, 12 yards, a very big play on a fake punt that really changed momentum of the game, I believe. C.J. Anderson had 16 carries for 44 yards. He was the main running back as Ty Gurley was sitting out most of the game. Brandon Cooks had 7 receptions for 107 yards. Drew Brees went 26 for 40, 249 yards, 2 TDs, 1 pick in overtime, which essentially sealed the game. Kamara had 11 receptions for 96 yards. Ted Ginn, 3 receptions for 58 yards. And there's a lot of things that went on during this game. The Saints had a 13-0 lead. They had a 20-10 lead, 23-20 lead. But all this was overshadowed. It was a great game between two great teams. But all this was overshadowed by the fact that under 2 minutes left, third down and I believe 8, the Saints run a play, got a little wheel route going with a small wide receiver named Tommy Lee Lewis, who a lot of people don't know. He's our punt returner. He running the wheel route. Drew Brees doesn't see the safety coming over. Safety, cornerback, whatever he is, coming over. The cornerback, if he plays the ball, could have easily picked it off, deflected it, and made an easy play. But he panics and just blasts Tommy Lee Lewis well before the ball comes. And this is something that you see in real time. It's not one of those plays where the replay happens and you're like, oh my God. No, this was real time. You're like, where's the flag? Something has to happen. For people who did not see it, I don't know if you guys remember the video game NFL Blitz. Like NFL Blitz, there were no rules. So if someone threw the ball, you literally can go and just grab the receiver and throw him across the field before the ball came and intercept it. It was like the NBA Jam of the NFL at the time. And this was reminiscent of that game because he literally went over, blasted Tommy Lewis. It wasn't like a regular pass interference where he face guarded and just had his hands up and didn't turn around. He blasted Tommy Lewis before the ball came. No flag. The refs get together. This is the part that made me more upset. The refs get together, talk about it amongst themselves, and still do nothing about it. Now, I understand the rules are it can't be reviewed, but you're talking about it. It's not a review. You can easily say, oh, hey, you missed it. I saw it. Let me throw the flag. I thought you were going to throw it because you were literally right there. There was one ref in the back of the play. There's another ref right there. I don't know how they missed this, how they don't see it. So for me, that play cost the Saints the game. Now, a lot of people, of course, are going to go back and point out all the plays that the Saints got away with during the game and say that one play didn't matter. That play changed the game. All those other plays you're mentioning, oh, the Saints got away with a face mask at 2 minutes and 57 seconds of the third quarter. Shut up. That play didn't change the game. The pass interference changed the game. There's no overtime. There's no interception in overtime because if the Saints get that pass interference, it's first down. Rams have no timeouts left. We run down the clock. We kick the ball in. 25-yard field goal with a kicker who hasn't missed from inside 50 yards all year. Game over. Saints in the Super Bowl against the Patriots in Atlanta. Atlanta Falcons' worst nightmare. But the Saints got robbed. You're not going to change my mind on that. I know there's certain things we could have did differently. We could have ran the ball on first down in that situation instead of throwing that little quick slant. But I had no problem with that play because Drew Brees should have hit Michael Thomas. I don't know why he threw the ball so low. Of course, it's a game. There's going to be a bunch of plays you could do differently. But that one play changed the course of history. What are your thoughts on the matchup, Rashan?
Well, I think, like you said, man, and Damien, listen, after all of you guys out there that don't know, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and Damien's squad beat us, the week prior in a hard-fought divisional round game, in which I believe that our, mistakes helped the Saints win. But that's neither here nor there. In this game, Damien, I agree with you that play was the deciding factor. Well, not the deciding factor, because the Saints did have the ball in overtime. Y'all had the ball first. But that was a game-changing play because the Rams had one timeout, but that wouldn't even have mattered because it would have been first and goal. Y'all would have ran the clock down. I'm sure your kicker would have made the field goal and y'all would have been on to the Super Bowl. What bothers me, though, was the fact that, like you said, Damien, they huddled up. I mean, everybody saw it. It was an umpire right there. Not only was it a pass interference, it was a helmet-to-helmet hit. It was a helmet-to-helmet hit. That was one of those type of plays where, though, I know, I've seen worse to get disqualified or kicked out, but the fact that he knew that he messed up, or he thought he messed up, and his out to mess it up was to go hit a defenseless wide receiver, helmet to helmet. That is the most, if I'm a New Orleans Saints fan, I would be so pissed. I don't even know how you have the composure to talk about this right now. Now, my initial thought after watching that, and after watching y'all leave, was, damn, the Saints got exactly what they deserved. Not the fans, the Saints, the players, because I didn't like the way I think they were totally disrespectful to the defending champions in the post-game, playing a Meek Mill and stuff like that. So my initial reaction was, damn, the Saints got what they deserved, and this and that. You know what I mean? But after reevaluating the situation, I actually think that they probably was showing this respect by playing that song at the end. Because even though it wasn't the Super Bowl, it was the Super Bowl for them because they beat the defending Super Bowl champion. So maybe that ain't what the case. That's how I made myself feel better. But when I heard you, David, and you did a Facebook Live, I don't know whether or not it was live or not, but I saw the video, and you referenced NFL Blitz, and you was like, that was the worst call you ever seen in your life. And the pain in your voice, that's how I felt in so many NFC Championship games, without that deciding factor. I know that you were hurt 10 times more as hurt as I ever been, because none of our games has ever been decided like that. And I know the city of Philadelphia would have found every last one of those umpires' houses, and we would have been at each one of their houses. You know what I mean? It was absolutely egregious what happened. I don't like the fact that Sean Payton didn't settle down his team going into overtime, and he kept, berating the umpires, the refs for the call. It was over. You need to settle down your team. Y'all got the ball after the overtime. You drive down the field. By the way, I think Drew Brees had one of his worst games. You know, even the pass that preceded that pass to Lewis, you know, I thought the pass that Taggart actually made the catch on was a horrible pass. That should have been intercepted. Had the guy played the ball. You know, he did play the ball, but he didn't go to the ball. Taggart made a beautiful catch. You know, I think the running game for the Saints was disappointing, you know, but the Saints defense, y'all kept them in the game. Even though, listen, the Rams scored 23 points, you only wish to hold the Rams 23 points by the end of regulation. Obviously, they got the field goal at the end to make it 26. But you don't hold the Rams to 23 points. Shit, that's a successful day. Y'all offense has not been the same since y'all beat the Eagles 48-7. Since then, y'all only averaged 22 points a game. That was the thing the Eagles was looking at going into the game with y'all, that we can keep y'all to a low score, you know, and possibly steal one. I don't know what happened to y'all offense after the Eagles game, you know, in the regular season, but y'all offense dipped after that. I feel so bad for you. I feel so bad for Drew Brees. Alvin Kamara can go to hell. But the rest of those guys, Michael Thomas, who I absolutely love, I think he is a beast. I didn't get a chance to watch him that much during the regular season, but boy, did I watch him last week when he torched our asses. I think y'all were robbed, bro. I totally feel your pain, even though it's certain players on that team I can't stand, you know, but the fan base actually gained a friend on Twitter, after me and him was going back and forth. He's from New Orleans or whatever. So, you know, I feel the pain for you, bro. I see it exactly the way you saw it. The face mask penalty that they missed and stuff like that, none of that decided the game. The Rams was on a 1-yard line and decided to kick a field goal. You know, they should have went for it. The coach of the year, the reigning coach of the year, should have went for it. He decided to take a field goal. And I was hoping that y'all came down the field and make him pay for it, because I can't stand Sean McVay either. You know what I mean? So, brother, I feel your pain. And, you know, you described it best, man. Listen, only a fan should be able to describe what happened in that game. Because me on the outside looking in, I can't capture the pain that you would feel, because it was highly rivalry, bro.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, I never thought I would feel worse than I did last year. You know, last year we suffered the Minnesota Miracle, and it was horrible, right? You got the game in the bag. All you got to do is make a tackle, and our safety made the worst tackle attempt I've seen in my life, and missed Diggs, and Diggs got to go down the field and score, and on literally a miracle. And this feels way worse because it wasn't our fault. Like, there's plays that we could have did better. We could have took advantage of the interception we had earlier in the game, where we were right in the 20 and had to settle for a field goal. There's a bunch of stuff that could have went differently. But that play ends the game pretty much. The Rams, I think you mentioned they did have one timeout, so I think they would have had like maybe 20-something seconds left after the field goal. It would have been very hard for them to do anything with 20 seconds. So like I said, for this one, the pain probably would never go away unless we, win Super Bowl next year. But you mentioned Drew Brees. You can tell he's aging. Like, the deep ball isn't the same. The first passing issue guys. Ted Ginn had the cornerback beat. If Drew Brees is maybe 5 years younger, he makes that throw. So you can see, like, the deep ball isn't there. He's still very accurate. Like, short and intermediate, he's a beast with that. And that's why him and Michael Thomas are so good together, because Michael Thomas isn't a deep guy. He's someone who's going to get you that short, medium catches. And every once in a while, he'll hit you with a double move and beat you deep. But he's more of a short, intermediate possession guy. And that's why him and Drew Brees are so good right now. So Drew Brees, I think next year might be his last year, as you can see him slowing down a little bit. Hopefully, we can make one last run at it. But, man, that's a tough way to go out right there. And you talked about, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I was just imagining Drew Brees going up against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, that definitely would have been a good storyline. You got two 40-plus quarterbacks going at it in the Super Bowl. Two of the all-time greats. Both are in the top 5 all-time, in my opinion. And, man, we got robbed of that opportunity. And speaking of that bad call, that pass interference, there's been a lot of horrible calls throughout NFL history. I personally think this one is the worst of all time. Do you think this is the worst call you've ever seen?
NFL history, in my opinion. Absolutely. I think it was the worst call in NFL history. The magnitude of the game, the blatant obviousness of the foul, and the fact that you got technology for you to show that's a foul. They got a guy, in New York that they can call, to say, look, or could call a refs on the field who didn't see it. Look, no, you got to throw that flag. You know what I mean? I thought that's what happened. That was what was happening when they huddled up. But I'm not a Saints fan, so I can't say that's the worst call in history. For me, when you ask that question, the first thing that comes to my mind, and it has nothing to do with team sports, it was boxing. The worst call I've ever seen, because not only was horrible, it was life changing. Was Richard Steele calling the fight for Julio Cesar Chavez over Belgian Teller. I think that being from Philly and knowing the history of Belgian Teller here, he never changed. I mean, after that fight, it was so heart-wrenching and depressing that he never recaptured his greatness. And he was the greatest on that night. And I think Richard Steele robbed him of what could have been, and I think that he never got over that. And to see him from time to time here in Philly, and to see how, everybody knows that loss destroyed him, it was life-changing, and to see what he's become, what I mean? It's heartbreaking to me. It's heartbreaking to me being a boxing fan. And I was young at the time, but we knew who Belgian Teller was because he was from Philly. The champ, he's fighting for pride. This was before Bernard Hopkins, reigned supreme. And Bernard probably was the middleweight champion at the time, or probably not. I don't know. But this was before Bernard Hopkins became Bernard Hopkins. He was our guy. And to see Richard Steele still at something, I think, especially with seconds left, when he got to his feet, and everybody knew he won, the undefeated Julio Cesar Chavez, and for him to stop the fight, that was the worst I've ever seen. That was the worst I've ever seen. I'm sure it was more, but that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Not only because it was career-changing, it was life-changing.
No, that's a very good call. When you think about all sports, that one definitely comes to mind for me as well. The HBO documentary on that is excellent, and it goes into detail on how Taylor's life, had a downward spiral after that. Like, it definitely was something that was life-changing. And I think that's the worst call in sports history. When you think about, you got to think about Game 6, 2002, Western Conference Finals. The Kings were just robbed. It wasn't just one call, it was the whole game.
Oh, yeah.
of that one. And one of the referees actually went to jail. So that one is definitely up there when you think about, robberies and stuff like that. My man Chris Webber probably still cries about that one, and I can't blame him because his whole career is different. Like, the way you look at Chris Webber is totally different if they go to the finals. They play the Nets. The Nets, shout out to Jason Kidd, one of the greatest point guards of all time. But that team, was the product of a very weak Eastern Conference at the time. Whoever came out the West was going to win a championship. Chris Webber, Mike Bibby, Doug Christie, D. Fox, all those guys looked at totally different if they won championship that year, taking out the great Lakers. So that one definitely comes to mind. Other ones in NFL history, the infamous coin toss, the 98, Jerome Bennett's looking at the referee like, what are you doing? When he called the wrong one and gave the wrong team the ball.
Yeah.
That's definitely up there. The Dez Bryant catch, my man caught it, switched hands, went to the ground, tried to reach out, and they still called it a no catch. Like, even if you hate the Cowboys, you have to acknowledge, like, that's one of the worst calls in NFL history. Like, come on, my man switched hands. Like, how? Like, come on.
Yeah, right.
That was definitely up there. I don't know if you remember Duke Johnson a couple years ago for the Browns, where it was like you couldn't really see it, but then when they showed the replay, he didn't fumble, but somehow the other team got the ball. Like, and it was just this phantom play where the referee just awarded the other team the ball, but it was the Browns, so nobody really cared. But it was but it was just so bad of a call that is up there in history as well. DeFell Mary, I don't know if you guys remember a couple years ago when they had the replacement referees, and I believe it was Seattle and Green Bay, and they had
Green Bay,
and they had the Hail Mary go up, and one referee had his hands up for the touchdown, the other one was calling incomplete. Those are all those are all very horrible calls.
That was more of a comical call, because you expected those guys to do that. You know what I mean? They replaced the referees.
Exactly.
I remember one from Megatron too. Megatron had a catch that they overruled. Detroit, I forget who it was. Man, the NFL got a lot. Man, the NFL got a lot this year.
Yeah.
By referees, and then you got calls by coaches. One of the great worst calls was not deciding to run Marshawn Lynch at the 1 yard line when he previously got 8 yards to get you down there. You decided to throw it on the 1 yard line. Now, I know that this is probably worst calls by a referee, you know what I mean? But, coaches got to be throwing it there too. That was a horrible call. That was a horrible call.
Yeah, definitely. That's when you think about. We're gonna do that one day too on a bonus episode. Probably worst call, coach calls and referee calls in history. And yeah, that's definitely up there because you got to at least run it one time. Like if you get stuffed that first time, then I can see. You know what I mean? But to go with that pass on the first down, when you first get down there, that's rough. But as far as NFL history, I think this is the worst one. You got to think of the impact of the missed call. This one's going to lead to reviews on pass interference. Like, I guarantee next year that's going to be added to the rules. Now that we're going to have to do reviews on pass interference because someone missed this obvious call. Like, this one might lead to referees getting fired. Like, I think those two refs that were right there might get fired. So the impact of this call, being that it kept a team out the Super Bowl, makes it as the worst call in NFL history to me. Like, the Des Bryant catch, no catch is definitely up there, but that was divisional round. And plus, they got away with obvious pass interference the round before against Detroit. I remember that. That's up there, too. So there's a lot of them. Like, I forgot about remember the Terrell Owens catch where he caught an end zone against Green Bay and came out crying?
Yeah.
That play was never supposed to happen. Like, Jerry Rice, before that play, he fumbled. And it was recovered by Green Bay. But back then, I think that they couldn't review it. And they just they called it down. And they couldn't. They had to get on with it. And Terrell Owens got this great memory out of it in this great moment when it was never supposed to happen. So there's been a lot of them like that in the NFL. And we forget about some of them because of the result. Like that one, we totally forget about that Jerry Rice play because of Terrell Owens catching the ball, coming out crying, and how great a moment that was for him.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of moments like that.
You know what's crazy, though?
Yeah.
You know what's crazy, though? The fact that I didn't know that the refs may get fired, because that's the most infuriating thing about it, is that, refs don't have no kind of punishment for their calls. And I think you understate this call changed history. This call changed legacy. Not saying that you look at Drew Brees any differently, but Drew Brees was certainly more better, with 2 Super Bowls than 1, and the fact that he got one at 40. We praise Tom Brady. Drew Brees is right there. And this changed history. I couldn't agree more, man. This is the worst call in NFL history.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you that when it changed history. Like Sean Payton as a coach, right? A lot of people think of him as that one-hit wonder, that one Super Bowl. There's a lot of years where it was just offense with no defense with him. So he gets that second Super Bowl, it changes his legacy totally. So it definitely was a legacy-changing call that was made there. And like I said, it's gonna be a while before I can laugh about it, joke about it. I don't know if I ever will be able to. Like I can somewhat laugh at the Minnesota Miracle now, a year later. But with this one, I don't know. And like I said, unless we win Super Bowl next year, it's going to be tough to ever joke about this one. All right, so now let's move on to the other game that happened on Sunday. The New England Patriots defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 37-31. Tom Brady went 30 for 46, 348 yards, 1 TD, 2 picks. Sony Michel, 29 carries, 113 yards, 2 touchdowns. Julian Edelman had 7 receptions for 96 yards. Gronk had 6 receptions for 79 yards. For Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes went 16 for 31, 295 yards, 3 touchdowns. Sammy Watkins had 114 yards receiving, and Damian Williams had 96 total yards for 2 touchdowns. This game started out as a dud. It looked like the Patriots was going to dominate this game, and then in the second half, especially the fourth quarter, the Chiefs really stormed back, but the Patriots won in overtime. What were your thoughts on this matchup?
What I come away from this matchup is that it reaffirms that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback ever in the history of this game, probably the greatest football player because, you know, his calmness under pressure is just unbelievable. And Mahomes, listen, you know, here in Philadelphia, we were all praising Wentz last year before the injury. Patrick Mahomes is unbelievable. He is Aaron Rodgers 2.0. He's Aaron Rodgers 2.0. And this kid is unbelievable. It had to take a Tom Brady miracle drive in which he throws an interception. You know, but D Wood is offside. It took 3 third and 10s to convert to win the game. You know, just to tie it, actually. You know what I mean? To tie it and then go into overtime and not, you know, overtime is what I was describing. I'm sorry. You know, but to not give this kid, they had to score in overtime to not give this kid the ball back. His fourth quarter explosion, I think what they scored, 24 points in the fourth quarter, a total of 38 points between the two teams in the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter was bananas. Gronkowski amazes me. He amazes me. He barely can run, yet still, they put him out wide, singling him off, and he's making unbelievable catches. Julian Edelman made some great catches. Hogan, who wasn't even a football player years ago, made an awesome catch. Now, some may say that the ball hit the ground or whatever. I think it was a catch. You know what I mean? Rule changes last year, that would have been a catch. I think it was a catch. But Tom Brady, James White, listen, those guys are unbelievable. I think James White is the most underrated running back in the NFL. I think when you go out for fantasy football, and I play fantasy football, I don't choose Le'Veon. I don't choose none of those guys. I choose him because he is a touchdown maker and he's a reception. You know, he fills up the fantasy points. I just think that what Bill Belichick and Tom Brady has done over the years, listen, we thought that we ended the Patriots last year when we beat them in the Super Bowl. I mean, we actually were talking about the Patriots. Lane Johnson was talking about how, you know, miserable it was to play for the Patriots as if he played for the Patriots. You know, we win one, and we want to talk about everybody else. This dude's been doing it for 20 years. It basically became full circle. They played the Rams. That's what Tom Brady's like. Well, it began, you know, against the Oakland Raiders. You know what I mean? Even though it should have ended, well, began and ended that night. But it began against the Rams. And it may possibly end against the Rams because who knows? We may never see Tom Brady in the Super Bowl again. And I say that they hurt you. And the Saints fans, that we may never see Drew Brees again, you know, play to the level of this. So what he did was astonishing. Andy Reid shouldn't feel disappointed. Well, he should feel disappointed because his player wasn't disciplined enough to stay on side. But he didn't have a bad game. I think he should have called timeout in overtime to give his defense a rest. But, you know, that's neither here or there. He got young talent, Tyreek Hill, you know, Patrick Mahomes. After losing Kareem Hunt, I thought that team was going to go downhill. But to have those guys in the AFC Championship and be overtime away from getting to the Super Bowl, he should be proud of what his team is and what they will become. But the Patriots is unbelievable.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything you said. The Chiefs are going to be here for years to come. Patrick Mahomes is, you know, he's someone who, you know, the last time we saw somebody throw for over 5,000 yards in their second year was Dan Marino. And, you know, Dan Marino went on to be one of the greatest of all time. And Patrick Mahomes has the talent around him to do that as well as get to Super Bowls. Unlike, you know, Dan Marino got to that one Super Bowl and didn't get back. I think Mahomes could be there for years to come, man. This defense, they did improve over the year. I think that they will be better as years go along as well. The Chiefs team will be there. The Patriots, you know, eventually Tom Brady has to slow down. So you think maybe this might be their last chance. And we've seen some slowdown with him as well. Like with Drew Brees, the deep ball isn't the same. But you're over 40. That happens. But this game really showed me, man, the coaching staff of the Patriots, man, to come out with that running attack and those different runs that they did, just dominating the line of scrimmage like that. And against the Chargers, that coaching performance was just nuts. The way they outcoached the Chargers was bananas. So that coaching staff is ridiculous. You have pretty much two head coaches with Belichick and with the offensive coordinator who, just turning down head coaching jobs because he wants to stay with the Patriots.
Right.
It's just so you pretty much got two head coaches there.
What's crazy about Josh McDaniels? We lost our offensive coordinator, this year because he turned down the Indianapolis coach job. We lost Frank Wright because he committed and then turned down the job. But I love that coach, man. I love that kid.
Yeah, no, he's a very good coach. So both of these teams, man, Rams, Patriots, Super Bowl, like you mentioned, it's coming full circle. It's crazy. So we'll get into our Super Bowl prediction and preview next. But let's take one more music break as we go even more old school this time. And just want to remind you, do not trust a big butt and a smile. Welcome back to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. We still here with my man Rashan Reeves. No truer words have ever been spoken. Never trust a big butt and a smile. It always leads to bad things.
Right about that, brother.
So now let's get into the Super Bowl. You know, we have 2 weeks, so I'm going to do another preview next week of this. But I definitely want to get into like a little short preview of it, just to get our initial thoughts as we have the Patriots versus the Rams here in a couple of weeks. What are your thoughts on this matchup, and who do you have winning?
Man, I thought the Rams was done when Cooper Kupp got hurt, but I like the way that defense been playing, especially the past couple of weeks. And Dominic Sue, he's become a monster again, especially in the playoffs. But I just can't. Listen, I cannot bet against Tom Brady. I'm sorry, I just can't. And besides, I like seeing history. I love seeing history. I love seeing. Do you realize in our lifetime how many of the greatest of their sports we've seen? You know what I mean? We've seen Michael Jordan. We've seen, well, some people may say LeBron James. You know, I don't believe that. But we've seen so many, you know, of the players that you can call the greatest. Wayne Gretzky, now Tom Brady. You know, even before that, Joe Montana. I just can't bet against this guy. I'm sorry, I can't. I think that him and Bill Belichick, you know, will come up with a game plan to alleviate that rush that, you know, the Rams have, you know, with Aaron Donald and Dominic Sue, and then the kid, Seymour, they picked up from Baltimore. This kid, you know, I think he caused the fumble against Shaw. You know, listen, I just can't bet against them. I just can't bet against them. You know, the Rams, they're a nice young squad. You know, Jared Goff, I believe, played exceptional against y'all, especially against the blitz. You know, you guys blitzed him a couple of times, and he made, you know, great, accurate passes, you know, in the flat to a couple, you know, running backs and tight ends. You know, his composure throughout that game was unbelievable. So I can't say that he's going to go into it nervous, but this is the Super Bowl. You know, Super Bowl makes, men out of people. And I think this kid has stepped up to the challenge, but I just cannot see the Patriots losing. I just can't bet against them, and I'm just going to go with the Patriots. You know, next week I'll probably have a little bit more analysis once, you know, I see what Vegas is going for, you know, see what the final line is going to be, and you know, how I compare the two, stack up against the two. And, you know, but my initial thought right now, I just can't bet against the Patriots. I'll probably think that way next week, you know, but I like the Patriots in this one.
I'm right there with you. As part of me that's going to be rooting against the Rams because I don't think they believe they belong there. And it's weird because I've never, ever rooted for the Patriots, ever. But in this one, I feel like this will be the perfect time for Tom Brady to go on top. It's coming full circle. You know, he played the Rams in his first Super Bowl, played against the Rams in his last. Go out on top against this talented team, which defense has turned the corner, like you said, these last few weeks, especially in the playoffs here. But I think that the Patriots, with 2 weeks to prepare, will find the holes in the defense. They'll find out how to run against them. Because that's been an underrated thing. The Patriots have been running the ball, man. And I think that they will find a way to have Sony Michel and Burkhead and James White just have a major impact in this game. And one thing that the Saints did that the Patriots definitely will do is have their running backs come out the backfield catching the ball. Kamara was out there killing. And like there was a full possession where we just went exclusively to Kamara. And I think they'll do that same thing with James White. And they'll find ways to take advantage of those linebackers for the Rams. And the Patriots defense will find ways to slow down Jared Goff. We saw Jared Goff panic a little bit in the Saints game. Like that last play before the long field goal, he could have easily got more yards. But he panicked and threw the ball away because I think the pressure got to him a little bit in that moment. And before, you know, I forgot to mention the Rams kicker. I got to give a shout out to him. 57 yards. He could have made it from 70. Like, that was nuts. The fact that he made that kick and made it look so easy against the Saints in that overtime. I'm like, 57, like, okay, we got a chance. You know, maybe he'll miss from 57. And when, you can tell it was good from the moment he kicked it. And so that's one thing. If it comes down to a kick, the Rams kicker, it looks like he's made out of ice. Like, you're not icing him. You're not making him nervous. He's good. But for the Patriots, I think it won't get down to that. I got them winning 31-21 right now. I might, change my score, but I don't think I'm going to change my prediction at all. I got Patriots winning this one. I think it's going to be a good game, but Patriots, I can see winning comfortably. Do you think I'm crazy to think it'll be comfortable?
I think, all Super Bowls are close. The most recent ones were close. So I say it'll be a little bit closer than that, but I don't think, the Patriots will lose. You picked up something, that I was thinking about James White, coming out of that backfield. I think he can exploit, some of their linebackers. Julian Edelman wreaks havoc on anybody. If they can get him paired up with a linebacker, that'd be great. I don't think nobody can stop Gronk one-on-one, But I think to disrupt Jared Goff, and this is what I noticed from us playing the Rams, is if you get pressure up the middle and if you hit him, not necessarily sack him, but if you get constant pressure up the middle and hit him, I think he'll be a different quarterback. He'll hear footsteps. Now, I don't think the kid is going in nervous. I just think that's in his nature. It's just certain quarterbacks you hit, they get rattled and things change. They hear footsteps. But the Rams, they can get that running. C.J. Anderson is nice. I don't know what's going on with Todd Gurley. I don't know if it's because of the drop passes he had earlier in the game, why they didn't, use him that much. But Todd Gurley is Todd Gurley. I think it'll be a great game, but I just can't see, the Rams beat them. Now, 31-21, I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit, too big of a margin. But I think that because it's the Super Bowl, I think it's going to, live up to what the game has been over the past couple of years.
I definitely can see that as well. But like I said, we'll definitely have more analysis next week for the Super Bowl. Just our initial thoughts right there. So now let's move on to a little basketball. As football season starting to wind down, this is a time where you start paying even more exclusive attention to basketball. And the All-Star game is coming up pretty quick. And I wanted to get your thoughts on who should be in the All-Star game. So let's start with the Eastern Conference. Let's do the starters. Who are your 5 starters for the Eastern Conference?
All right, let me pull up my list real quick. All right, obviously, not in any particular order. I got Kawhi Leonard, obviously, 27.6 points per game. Toronto and Milwaukee keep battling for that top spot in the East. Giannis, obviously, he's probably going to be the MVP of the league. 26 points a game, 12 rebounds, and it just seemed like he dunked about 6 times a game. Milwaukee is on a rise. I like that young squad. Of course, I got my man, the big man, Joel Embiid, averaging 27 and 13, just put up 31 and blocked James Harden's shot yesterday and talked trash to him and started a fight with him and Russell Westbrook. You got to love this guy. You just got to love him. He don't have no respect for nobody, So that's, I got Kawhi, Giannis, Embiid. I got to go with Kyrie because Kyrie is Kyrie. And then I got Kemba Walker, man. Kemba Walker is, for him to be so small, he's unbelievable. He put up 60 points on us. He averaged about 37 against us because the game before that he put about 40, and I think, a couple games we held him to 30. But this guy is unbelievable. But those are my starters. Kemba Walker, Kyrie Irving, Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, we have the same 5 starters. I think the Eastern Conference is pretty easy as far as the starters go. Kyrie, Kemba have definitely separated themselves as guards. Kawhi is having a monster year. The only reason he's not up there for MVP is because he's taking some games off. I guess resting the quad and other injuries. But he's a monster on both sides of the floor. You mentioned how Giannis is out here getting 26, almost 13 rebounds, 6 assists. That's just dumb. And Joel Embiid, you said everything that I'm thinking, man. You got to love this guy. Watched that game last night against the Rockets. The Rockets are down some players, but he did what he's supposed to do as a star. Those guys are down. Clint Capella, I'm about to dominate. And that's what he did. He went out there and killed it. So we agree on the 5 starters. So going to have 7 reserves. Let's start. Let's get your first 3 reserves.
All right, my first 3 reserves, not in any particular order. I got Ben Simmons. Yes, I got the non-shooting point guard going to his very first NBA All-Star game. And the reason I say it's because Ben Simmons is almost averaging a triple-double. I think Ben Simmons, the only thing you can say about him, well, there's a couple things I can say about him, but people on the outside looking in is that he can't shoot. Everything else he does great. He rebounds, he passed the ball. I think he passed the ball a little bit too much. That's why his turnover rate is a little bit high. But other than that, Ben Simmons is a jump shot away from being. I don't think he'll be better than LeBron. I just think that he'll have better numbers than LeBron because I think he's a better facilitator than LeBron James is. I think he can dribble better than LeBron James. Now, I'm not saying that he'll be better than LeBron because just because you got the potential to do it, that don't mean you're going to do it over 17, 18 years. You know what I mean? So I think Ben Simmons is one of the starters. One of the reserves for the Eastern Conference bench. I got Blake Griffin, for obvious reasons. Blake is Blake. Never always going to be looked at as a superstar, but he's good enough to be a star. And I got Victor Oladipo. Even though he's been struggling of late, I still like Victor Oladipo. I like where the Pacers are, even though they can't beat us. I like the Pacers. They're fourth currently right now in the Eastern Conference, and you got to give it to that guy. They got some good players on that team, but he's the lead on that team, and I like Victor Oladipo. So I got Ben Simmons, Blake Griffin, and Victor Oladipo for my first three.
Yeah, I agree on those three. Blake Griffin is very underrated. Like, he's having his best season as a player this year. And if he was in LA doing this, it'll be a major topic of conversation. But what he's doing there in Detroit with a subpar team is amazing. He's honestly their best passer at power forward, which says a lot about Reggie Jackson. But but he being the best, best facilitator, best scorer. He's shooting threes at a high rate. Blake Griffin's a monster, man. Victor Oladipo, he's been dealing with injuries this year, but still has the Pacers as that fourth or fifth best team in the Eastern Conference. When you look at the Eastern Conference, there's 5 good teams, and then the rest are just there. And the Pacers are surprisingly a part of that 5 because of Victor Oladipo. And Ben Simmons, man, 16, 9, and 8, and can't shoot. Imagine if he could. Like, that's just, like, to average 16, 9, and 8 and not be able to shoot is amazing. Great defender. Like, someone who, when he's engaged defensively at his height, his length, sticking point guards, power forwards, his versatility on defense is something that's very underrated and something that me as a basketball fan just love people who can play both ways. So I agree on those 3. Who are your next 3?
All right, my next 3. I got Bradley Beal, who I absolutely love. I was hoping that, John Wall wouldn't get hurt, stay healthy, and they ship one of them off, hoping it would be Bradley Beal, and the Sixers somehow scooped him up. I like Bradley Beal. They've been playing well over the last 10 games since John Wall's been hurt. They 7-3 over their last 10 games. They currently 6 games under 500, but, so what? They get there. Chris Middleton for the Milwaukee Bucks, who I like. He can shoot. He's the number 2 man to Giannis, averaging 17.3. I think he's a highly underrated player. Got length, can play defense, and again, he can shoot. He reminds me, to be honest with you, of a better offensive player than the kid that went that Toronto traded for Kawhi.
DeMar DeRozan.
Excuse me. Say that again?
DeMar DeRozan.
DeMar DeRozan. Yeah, DeMar DeRozan. He has a mid-range. You know how DeMar DeRozan's mid-range is sick. But Chris Middleton can shoot from 3. And I think that's what's different between him and DeMar DeRozan. They got a similar type game, but I like Chris Middleton. And Zach LaVine. I think, coming back off the injury, I think he's played well this year. Chicago sucks. But, the light-skinned brothers doing the thing in Chicago. You know what I mean? And I'll give him an all-star now. So that's Bradley Beal, Chris Middleton, and Zach LaVine.
Okay, so that's where we got a little difference. I do agree on Bradley Beal. He's been balling this year. All the things you mentioned, they're playing better without Wall. And he's someone who's been taking on a challenge defensively as well. Something that's a big thing for me. I got Jimmy Butler. Now, Jimmy's been through a lot this year, right? And some people have disqualified him from All-Star because of his behavior in Minnesota. His alleged behavior with the 76ers, but people have come out and said that it wasn't an issue. He just talks aggressively. Some people we know just talk aggressively, and that's how he is. So I don't think it was a real issue with the 76ers. But you think about what he does on both ends of the floor. He's come to Philadelphia and become the clutch guy already. He's already hit 2 game-winning threes already. He's that guy. And even in that game against Oklahoma City, he made plays to where they should have won the game, but Paul George pulled that one out. And I do agree on Chris Middleton as well. Chris Middleton's a beast. Absolute monster. Like you said, defensively, offensively. He's part of the reason that Giannis is so successful, because he opens up the floor, and that team built around Giannis makes him successful. Chris Middleton is a big part of that. So now we have 2 spots left. So what is your last 2 spots?
These are my like, I like them spots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kyle Lowry from Philly. You know what I mean? I gotta give it to him. Listen, he's been man in that team. Even when Kawhi's been hurt, they've been winning. They've been winning without, not hurt, but sits out. They've been winning. Kyle Lowry's never going to blow you away with his offensive production and stuff like that. But to be an undersized, point guard, I think he handles himself well. He runs that team. And listen, they like I said, they battle in Milwaukee for the top spot in the East. So I like Kyle Lowry. But this is the last one is more so of I got to give this guy respect, because every time he plays our team, he kills us. And he's been surging. Spencer Dinwiddie from the Brooklyn Nets. This guy, I think he averages like, listen, I said Kemba averaged like 37 against us. He's a little bit under that, like averaging like 35 against the Sixers. I think he's another underrated player on another underrated squad, the Brooklyn Nets. The kid they got from L.A. Why all these names escaping me? I'm sorry, but they got the kid Jared Allen. Who I think is going to be a great player. Defensively, he's already formidable. And listen, this kid, he can shoot, he can play defense, he can do it all. He can pass. It's something about this kid, and maybe because I think he was a D-League player, and he's starting to come into his own. He's one of those feel-good stories. And I just like this kid. I think he makes Brooklyn grow. Along with the point guard that snitched on one of the Lakers teammates. I don't know why they keep Russell.
Yeah, D'Angelo Russell.
D'Angelo Russell. Yeah, him and Dinwiddie. I think they one of the underrated backcourts in the NBA.
So speaking of D'Angelo Russell, he's who I picked from the Nets. I was going back and forth between Russell and Dinwiddie. And Russell, man, he was somebody who last year I picked as a surprise guy for the All-Star game. I was a year too early. I think he should be selected this year along with Kyle Lowry. Kyle, his stats aren't impressive this year, but when you watch Toronto, he is what makes them go. They're able to win without Kawhi Leonard because of him. Like, he's not scoring as much this year, but he's facilitating very well. He leads the league in taking charges. Great on-ball defender. So his impact is why he's an all-star to me. And D'Angelo Russell averaging 19 this year with 6 assists, shooting a good percentage, making tough shots, has the Nets over 500. Who would have expected that in being a playoff team? So we only disagreed on like one spot with our all-stars.
Yeah, right.
But go ahead and name off your Eastern all-stars for me.
All right, for my Eastern All-Stars, I got Kemba Walker, Kyrie Irving, Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Kawhi Leonard. For my reserves, I got Ben Simmons, Blake Griffin, Victor Oladipo, Bradley Beal, Chris Middleton, Zach LaVine, Kyle Lowry, and Spencer Dinwiddie.
Very good list. I can't really be mad at that at all. For my Eastern All-Stars, the starters, I got Kyrie, Kemba, Kawhi, Greek Freak, and Joel Embiid. Reserves, Ben Simmons, Victor Oladipo, Blake Griffin, Jimmy Butler, Chris Middleton, Bradley Beal, D'Angelo Russell, and Kyle Lowry. So before we move on to our Western All-Stars, we're going to take our last music break. Get a little Janelle Monáe. We're going to go a little no school with this one because I know you guys, there's some young guys out there and girls that listen to the show. So let's get a little new school with Janelle Monáe. I Like That.
contradiction, got some factual and fiction. A little crazy, little sexy, little cool. Little rough around the edges, but I keep it smooth. I'm always left to center, and it's right where I belong. I'm the random mind, and don't you hear it major song that I like that. I don't really give a fuck if I was just the only one who likes that. I never like to follow others around the chase the sun. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. I like that. I don't care what I look like, but I feel good. Better than amazing and better than I could. To the whole world, I'm the venom and the antidote. Think a different type of girl to keep the whole world afloat. Cause I'm crazy and I'm sexy and I'm cool. Little rough around the edges, but I keep it smooth. I'm always left to center and that's right where I belong. I'm the random mind and don't you hear it made a song that I like that. I don't really give a fuck if I was just the only one who likes that. I never like to follow others around the chase the sun. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. I like that. I remember when you called me weird. We was in math class, third row. I was sitting by you, right before Mr. Ammon's class. Cause my mama couldn't afford new J's Polo, thrift store, thrift clothes. That was all I knew. Do you remember? I remember when you laughed when I cut my perm off and you rated me a 6. I was like, damn. But even back then with the tears in my eyes, I always knew I was the shit. I like that. I don't really give a fuck if I was just the only one who likes that. I never like to follow others around the chase the sun. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. I like that. Oh me, oh me, oh me, oh my. I like that.
When it comes to the real deal with Damian Adams, the fans always say, I like that. You know. So shout out to Janelle Monáe, my second wife, on that single right there. I like that. Dope song. So now let's move on to the Western Conference. This one's tough. I think this one's going to be much tougher than the Eastern Conference when it comes to picking, maybe not the starters, but the reserves at least. So let's start off with your 5 starters for the Western Conference.
All right, my 5 starters is LeBron James. For the obvious reasons, 27 points a game, 8 rebounds, 7 assists a game. Steph averaging 29.3. This is where I got, to pick between Kevin Durant and Paul George to put, in the starting lineup. I'm going to go with Paul George. I don't know what it is about this guy, but I love him. Well, actually, I do know what it is about this guy. I like the fact that he battled back from that horrific injury he had in the Olympic preliminaries. Where a lot of people thought that his career, if he did come back, he would never be the same player. To see him come back and be an even better player with the jump shot now, more consistent jump shot, is unbelievable. I like the fact that he didn't choose the glitz and glam of L.A. and stayed in Oklahoma City with Russell Westbrook, who is one of my favorite players, even though he can't stand Joel Embiid. And I respect that. And he got Oklahoma City playing well. So I'm going to give Paul George the nod at the starting spot. So that's LeBron, Steph, Paul George. I got Anthony Davis, 29.3 points a game, 13 rebounds a game, and James Harden, obviously. 35 points a game, 8 assists. So that's my starting 5. LeBron, Steph, Paul George, Anthony Davis, and James Harden.
Okay, I had the same struggle you did with Kevin Durant and Paul George. I went with Kevin Durant just because of the stats he's putting up this year are ridiculous, and he's on the number 1 team in the Western Conference. who's starting to hit their stride right now. You know, they've won 8 in a row. They're now number 1 in the Western Conference, Golden State. So I got Steph, James Harden, who's having maybe the best scoring year we've seen in a very long time. Like today is the anniversary of Kobe's 81-point game, and we haven't seen somebody on a scoring streak like this since Kobe. So with James Harden, you gotta give him respect for that, even though, you know, you might hate the way he plays with the flopping and the double step backs and all that stuff. It's remarkable what he's doing with that team having all the injuries they're having. He just carrying them, putting them on his back. So you gotta respect James for that. LeBron, excellent year. You know, I know he's been injured lately, but you still gotta put him in the starting lineup. Anthony Davis, I'm a Pelicans fan. Hey, watch out for the Pelicans starting to hit their stride. He beat the Grizzlies by 20 yesterday without Anthony Davis. They're starting to get healthy. You know, got Peyton back, Mirotic, Drew Holiday. They're starting to find their stride. So my starters are Steph, James, Harden, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Anthony Davis. So who are your first 3 reserves?
All right, my first 3 reserves is Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Steven Adams. I love Steven Adams. You know, I just think he's what the NBA was 20 years ago. You know, him and Joel Embiid, you know, Nikola Jokic, they play the game, you know, with their backs against the wall. Now, they all can shoot, too. You know, but Steven Adams can't shoot as well as Embiid and Jokic from the outside. But those guys, they play with their backs against the basket, and I love that about Steven Adams. And he's a great defender. So I went with Steven Adams.
Okay. We definitely got some differences on our reserves here for the Western Conference, but that's why I said it's going to be tough, because there's so many players in the West who are all-star deserving players. Because I feel like they should just change the whole thing, because now since they're doing like the captains pick the teams, just have the best 24. Because some of these Eastern Conference guys, they're great players, but the Western Conference, like my man from the Grizzlies, the point guard Mike Conley, never been to an All-Star game. That's nuts. Like that's
that's crazy.
yeah, that's just nuts. My man never been to an All-Star game.
Crazy.
And probably not gonna make it this year, even though he's in contention. So for my first 3 reserves, I got Nikola Jokic. He's out here balling. Got the Nuggets at the 2nd spot in the Western Conference. I love watching him play because when you watch the Nuggets play, it reminds you of a mixture of 90s ball with today's ball. Like there's times when they'll go to that old Houston Rockets lineup where they have the 4 shooters surrounding their center and let the center just go to work. And if you're not going to double, we're going to get these buckets on you. And that's how Houston used to do it back in the day with Akeem Olajuwon. They had the 4 shooters out there. If you ain't going to double, Akeem's going to embarrass you. Nikola Jokic has that same type of, not skill set as Akeem Olajuwon, obviously. And I don't want to make that mistake of saying that. But he has that skill set to where they can do that. And I love watching that. Paul George, like I said, he was someone who can easily be a starter. Like I have no problem with you putting him in a starting position. Beast this year, man. Both ends of the floor. That game against Philadelphia just shows it. You know, how he was able to dominate on both sides. Just an absolute beast. My next one, I had Damian Lillard. Portland's balling this year. You know, for Portland, though, because of the way they got swept by New Orleans last year in the first round, people aren't going to pay attention to the regular season like they should. But they still should give Damian Lillard credit for what they're doing in the regular season. But everybody's going to be worried about the playoffs. Like, how they perform in the playoffs. Do they get swept by a New Orleans again if New Orleans could sneak in? You know, someone else like a Utah. What happens if they play a tough defensive team like that? So that's what everybody's attention is going to be with those guys. But my first 3 are Nikola, Paul George, and Damian Lillard. So let's get your next 2.
All right, my next 2, I got Nikola Jokic, and I got Kyle Kuzma.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I like Kyle Kuzma. I love that kid. You know what I mean? Listen, if I got to give this Simmons the nod, I'm going to give this kid the nod. You see what I'm saying? He's the one, aside from LeBron James, I think he's the one untouchable on the Lakers. You know, even though I like Josh Hart, I love his energy and stuff like that, but I think if anybody is untouchable on the Lakers in a trade, you know, possibly to get your boy Anthony Davis, I know that would be heartbreaking for you. You know, I think Kyle Kuzma would be the one, that player that everybody wants, but that's the one player the Lakers will not give up. You know, and obviously LeBron James. You know, I love this kid. I love his energy. I love his defense. I love that he's starting to score more now. He certainly was the best draft pick the Lakers made last season. So like, I like this kid a lot. So, but mine are not in any particular order. So
Yeah.
Those are my numbers.
Okay. No, I definitely respect that. It's Kyle Kuzma's definitely an interesting pick. Just to go on a real tangent real quick, you mentioned how Kuzma was the best draft pick they've made. Do you think the Lakers, anywhere deep inside their soul, regret trading D'Angelo Russell to go ahead and get Lonzo Ball in the draft?
I mean, hindsight, yeah. Because I don't think D'Angelo Russell, he can shoot better than Lonzo Ball, but I don't think the potential is better than Lonzo. I think Lonzo's potential is better than D'Angelo. It's just that Lonzo is not assertive enough. You know what I mean? Like, Lonzo show flashes, but he got such a laid-back attitude and a nonchalant way of playing basketball. It turns people off. I know it turns basketball. You know what I mean? I know he probably won't say it publicly, but I know it turns magic off. It just don't seem like he has that fire inside of him. Especially coming. It's crazy having a dad that you have. You know what I mean? And for you to be the exact opposite, at least, externally. You know what I mean? His dad outwardly is just out there. But him, he's more reserved. And his game is sort of like, it's his personality. So they regret it, you know what I mean, because you see what D'Angelo Russell was doing over there in Brooklyn, but I just think that they sort of potential to Lonzo.
Yeah, Lonzo's potential is there, especially with him being 6'6". He's a pretty good defender already, and that's one thing that D'Angelo is not. But with Lonzo, you mentioned how he's not assertive. Especially playing with LeBron, there's going to be times where we need you to hit shots. And that's something that he still doesn't do consistently. He's doing it a little better this year, but a little better for him is not good enough. Like, when you look at his shooting percentages, it's bad. And he still can't hit free throws. Like, how can you not hit free throws? What's going on with the free throw line? Where you not hitting free throws? So I think D'Angelo Russell might be a better fit with what they're trying to do compared to Lonzo. But like I said, Lonzo is better defensively, and he definitely has way better vision than Russell, even though they're averaging probably about the same assists. Russell might be getting more. So even though he has the better vision, the production isn't matching that. So I think they might be regretting that. But to move on to my next two reserve players, I got Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. Now, Karl-Anthony Towns is having a monster year for Timberwolves. After Jimmy Butler left, you saw him take off. So obviously something was there with him and Jimmy Butler to where he wasn't able to be productive like he normally is. And with Rudy Gobert, just a monster defensively, Utah is back into the playoff. They started off this year very slowly, and I think him being more assertive has got them back into that playoff hunt. So those are my next two. What are your next two?
My next two is Rudy Gobert and Damian Lillard.
Okay, so...
Yeah. Like I said, I think Damian Lillard is one of the most underrated, players, in the NBA. He was sort of like on that Mike Conley type thing, as though he wasn't getting voted into the All-Star game. And it's crazy that you point that out. I'm sure you don't have Mike Conley in your All-Star vote. I don't have mine. I have him in mine. But it's still amazing to me that throughout these years, he didn't reach one. Just one. He could potentially be an all Hall of Fame type of player, but never make it to the All-Star game, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's the Western Conference, man. The Western Conference has always been tough. This year definitely shows it. Even though the East is more top-heavy, I believe, than the West is just so deep. Like, there's literally 14 teams in the West trying to make the playoffs. Like, the one team that's not is the Suns. I live out here in Arizona, and they're trash. But besides them, everybody else is trying to make the playoffs and trying to be good. So when you have a conference that's that deep, these all-star selections are going to be hard. Like, because we haven't mentioned Luka Doncic. He's going to be somebody who's going to be in the game, I think, according to the votes. So one of these spots that we've given to somebody is going to be taken away by him. And he's having a great rookie year. I don't think he deserves to be on the all-star team, but he's having a great rookie year. So when you think about that, it makes it even harder, right? For the last two spots I have Drew Holiday, and I gave it to Russell Westbrook. Now, I understand Russell's been struggling this year shooting from the field, but his impact is still showing there. Oklahoma City is one of the top teams in the Western Conference. Paul George is having a monster year, and I think he's taking over as the best player on that team. But Russell Westbrook is still just a monster. Just his energy, what he does on even playing better defense this year. Usually defensively, he's someone who you would think would dominate defensively because of his athletic ability. This year he showed a little more. The shooting, I think, will come around eventually. And he's still averaging a triple-double. Now, I think he's actually hurting himself by averaging a triple-double right now because now it's becoming underrated. I think now everybody's like, well, he's not having a good year, even though he's still averaging a triple-double. So now it makes you look back at the other triple-double years like, was it really that impressive, or was it just something that he can do because he's so athletic and get those stats, even though this year we know he's not having the best year? Do you think I'm crazy about saying that?
No, I don't. I think a lot of people, like even with me, I think the fact that, he's playing with Paul George, you see what Paul George is doing, and, Paul George is the one that's the closer on that team, or should be the closer on that team, and you sort of like compare him with him. You see what I'm saying? If you look at, his shooting, Russell Westbrook should be a perennial all-star. Should be. You know what I mean? I just think that this year, there's a lot of guards in the Western Conference you can pick from. Even Luka Doncic. Listen, I wanted to pick him, but I had this thing with, unless you are, like, blow me away as a rookie, and I think he's great, don't get me wrong. I just think that, sometimes you shouldn't make it. You know what I mean, as a rookie.
Yeah, like I said, the guard play in the Western Conference is hard, man. Drew Holiday is having a great year. Even though the Pelicans, up until the last couple of games or last week or so, were underachieving, Drew Holiday was out here balling. And when you look at the numbers, like I listened to Zach Lowe's podcast. He's one of my favorite basketball writers. He was talking about how when Drew Holiday's on the floor, their plus minus is ridiculously different from when he's off the floor. Like, even better than Anthony Davis. Like, when Anthony Davis is on the floor without Drew Holiday, the Pelicans are an average team. When Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday are on the floor, they're one of the best teams in the league. Drew Holiday is another one of those players who, on both ends of the floor, can dominate. He can get you 20 points a game, 6-7 assists. Also can guard the best perimeter player on the floor. So that's something that I love to take into intake about these games is the defensive end, because that's something that we forget about. James Harden
I know Drew. He came from Philly, so,
Yeah.
I love Drew when he's here in Philly, and he's nowhere near the player he was, here in Philly as he is now, and he made the All-Star team in Philly. He's exceptional. I love Drew, but he's just out there. I just love, other guards better than him. Yeah, I mean, I feel bad, but, somebody got to be left off, man. And I may have cheated, too, Damian. I think I named 8 Eastern Conference All-Stars, Joe, instead of, Eastern Conference Reserves instead of 7, so.
Yeah, that was my fault. That was my fault there. I counted wrong. I said 3, 3, and 2.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I got 8 anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we both cheated on that one. But like I said, it's tough to do. So please recap your Western Conference All-Stars for the people.
Yeah, for the starters, I got LeBron James, Steph Curry, Paul George, Anthony Davis, and James Harden. For the reserves, I got Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Steven Adams, Nikola Jokic, Rudy Gobert, and Damian Lillard, and Kyle Kuzma.
I said very good list there. The Western Conference is tough, man. For mine, I got Steph Curry, James Harden, LeBron, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis. For the reserves, I got Nikola Jokic, Paul George, Damian Lillard, Cat, Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, Drew Holiday, and Russell Westbrook. So that was it for our All-Stars right there. So before we get out of here, we're going to do Forgotten Players. We're not going to do sports trivia today. It's been a long show. We're going to do Forgotten Players. Forgotten Players is where we pay homage to players who may have been good but not great but not recognized, or players who you may have just forgotten about who we want to remind you of. Who is your Forgotten Player today?
Well, my forgotten player, as I like boxing. My forgotten boxer is Prince Nassim Hamed. seeing as though we was talking about Adrien Broner and Manny Pacquiao, Prince Nassim Ahmed, was one of those type of fighters. He was probably the most entertaining fighter of that time. Synonymous for coming in the ring, dancing the Biggie or anything. You know what I mean? Egyptians, he got in the scenes and all that stuff. But once he got in that ring, he was a knockout artist. Wasn't the most conventional fighter. I actually think that, in his last fight, second to last fight, when he fought Marco Antonio Barrera, he hired Emmanuel Stewart to be his trainer. Fired, his trainers that been with him his entire career. And Emmanuel Stewart tried to make him into a conventional fighter, tried to make him stand in front of his opponent and use hand movement and stuff like that, when Prince Nassim Ahmed just went on natural ability. I think his most famous fight was against Kevin Kelly, at Madison Square Garden, where Kevin Kelly was the champion. I think it was featherweight. And, Prince Nassim Ahmed, first time fighting on HBO, I believe. Well, probably not the first time fighting on HBO, but the first time in the States. And, it was Kevin Kelly dropped me, but, Prince Nassim Ahmed showed his power, knocked him, completely out. It was one of the great fights, and I just think that he was one of those fighters, that will go down in history is one of those, where are they now? Because he was so captivating, so polarizing when he was a boxer. And I think, him losing to Marco Antonio Barrera because he was calling him out for a year before that, I think it totally crushed him. He had a fight after that, probably a year later, then he just walked away from boxing. Total fight, 36-1 with 31 knockouts. Prince Nassim Ahmed, none of you guys know about Prince Nassim Ahmed. I suggest you go on YouTube, watch some of his videos. He was one of the most exciting fighters of my generation. And I was sad that he walked away from boxing, seemingly in his prime. So Prince Nassim Ahmed is my forgotten player.
That's a very good forgotten player. You mentioned the entrances, man. He had some of the best entrances ever. I remember one time he came out and he had smoke. They had fake gravestones, and he danced a Thriller coming to the ring. Like, who does that? He came out one time on like a magic carpet, just feeding all into the stereotype. He didn't care though. So he was just a beast, man. When it came to that, he did not care. Some of the funniest post-fight interviews ever. Because the thing is, because he fought so unconventionally, like you mentioned that fight against Kevin Kelly, he got knocked down 3 times in that fight. But somehow won and knocked Kevin Kelly out. And Kevin Kelly is no joke. Like, he's somebody who's, I believe, a Hall of Famer now. So when you fight somebody like that and get knocked down 3 times and come out to victory, you're not some scrub. And you mentioned the fight against Barrera. It was a long layoff before that fight, and he came into that fight, seemed like he wasn't moving the same. He wasn't the same guy. And like you said, yeah, one fight after that, which I remember I watched on YouTube for some reason after that. Even in that last fight, he didn't seem to have that passion anymore. Even though he won pretty easily, he was back over in England. But man, when he was just exciting, would do the front flip into the ring. Just was somebody who kept you entertained in an era of just entertaining. Like, he stood out in an era of entertaining boxers. Like, this is Roy Jones. You have later on Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis. This era of boxing, Oscar De La Hoya, Sugar Shane, Young Floyd was coming up. That era was full of entertaining boxers, and he stood out. Unless you know how entertaining he was and how polarizing he was in that era. And he had to be good as well. Like, you mentioned, like, Adrien Broner is someone who's entertaining, sometimes just ignorant, but he's also entertaining. And the person Nassim Ahmed brought the results with it, with the entertainment. So that's a very good forgotten player, one of my favorite boxers of all time. So for my forgotten player, I went football. I wanted to just, I guess, dwell on my Saints after what happened. So a lot of people forget that pre-Drew Brees, the Saints' history is pretty bad, right? It took us 40 years to win a playoff game, and Drew Brees wasn't our quarterback when we won our first playoff game. Our quarterback back then is my forgotten player, Mr. Aaron Brooks. Aaron Brooks, who was the cousin of Michael Vick, right? And at that time, Michael Vick owned the world, right? There was Michael Vick shoes, the Michael Vick experience, the commercials. With Atlanta being our rival, they were telling us we got the wrong cousin. But Aaron Brooks, Aaron Brooks definitely had a decent career. Like, it wasn't great, but he had some good years. And he brought us our first playoff victory in 2000. We beat the defending champion St. Louis Rams at that time in 2000. I'll never forget it, like I said, because we had been waiting 40 years. And imagine we had a team since 1960 and didn't get any playoff victories in the 19th century, or the 20th century, excuse me. So it took us to the 21st century to get a playoff victory. Aaron Brooks, Ricky Williams, Jeff Blake was the quarterback before, Aaron Brooks got there. He broke his ankle in the same game. This is how crazy that year was. We're having a great year. Play against Carolina. Both Jeff Blake and Ricky Williams break the ankle in the same game. We're like, oh, we're done. Like this, like how bad can your luck be for your starting quarterback and your starting quarterback and your star running back to both break their ankles in the same game? Like, there's no way we're going to go on and do anything. And Aaron Brooks came in and took that team, and we still was able to win the playoff game. And for the next few years, we were decent teams that underachieved under Aaron Brooks. But he definitely had some good years. Like 2003, he had 24 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions. He's someone who, kind of went downhill after that year. And even had one year in Oakland that I forgot about where he started 8 games, but wasn't really too good there. But Aaron Brooks is my forgotten player today. Someone who had over 20,000 yards passing his career. And 123 touchdowns and 92 interceptions. So shout out to Prince Nassim Hamed and Aaron Brooks as our forgotten players today. Rashan, man, I hope you had a good time on the show today.
Absolutely, man. I love when you invite me on, man. Great sports discussion.
Thank you. Where can people follow you on social media?
You can follow me on Twitter at BabyBlack1977 and Rashan Reeves, Rashan, Reeves, Reeves. And no, I'm not a kin Superman, but you can follow me on Facebook. But BabyBlack1977 on Twitter is where you get all the action from me.
Yes, very entertaining Twitter follow. If the 76ers are playing, he's definitely tweeting about the game, letting you know everything that's going on. Somebody, very good follow. Can't wait for you to get back on the radio. Once you have word on that, I'll definitely let people know. So, my man Rashan right there, bringing the sports knowledge as always. Make sure you follow me at The Real Deal WDA. That's on all platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all that. And until next time, go real or go home.